So if I had to restart and I lost this and I lost pretty much everything I have, what exactly would I do? I find this to be such a good question because I'm gonna tell you right now that my answer is gonna be a little bit different than everybody else's. And one of the big reasons why I'm making this video is that I saw Tanner J. Fox's video about this and I thought, man, that's really interesting and it'll really help people see inside of my mind and really help you understand where I would start. So the very first thing I would do is you see books over here and there's a bunch of books over here, there's more books over there, there's more books over there, and I have more bookshelves over here. I sound like Ty Lopez right now, but it would start off with acquiring knowledge, but I'm gonna showcase and share with you 5 books that I would read from start to finish if I had to restart from nothing, and what I would do in order to accumulate capital, which is something that we're gonna talk about. So let me just dive into it a little bit deeper. So I want to just state from the very beginning that this is going to be an absolutely incredible video and I suggest you watch all the way through. I'm going to go ahead and give you what I suggest, and if I lost everything, what I would do right now and start over to allow me to see even more exponential success. Now let me go ahead and just start off with this. Number 1 is I would go ahead and acquire some sort of knowledge. Now, there's typically a rule of thumb for me is that I have 5 core key fundamental books that I like to read. So 3 would be developing a mindset and 2 would be acquiring some sort of technical skill. Now I have books over here. Now these are 5 books. However, one of these is substituted. The one that I would substitute is this one right over here. No, not that one right over here. It would be this one right here, the Dan Dasilva. This is more technical than anything. So I would substitute this. Again, this is more technical than it is mindset, but if I was substituting this for the most important, I don't have that book on hand. And you're like, okay, Dan, how's the most important book if you don't have it on hand? I'm pretty sure I bought like 30 or 40 copies last year, and every single time I buy a copy for me, I would literally give it to friends and people who would ask me, what's the best book you ever read? And that book is Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. I even have it on Audible, and you can get it on Audible. It's an audiobook. It is one that will just, you have to read it and really understand what's being said in it, and it will change your life. The other one that's more so mindset, and this is a book that is extremely, and I was told never to share this with the people that follow me, and that's very, very powerful because you'll be able to, and the reason why I was told never to do that is because of the fact that it's not a good book. What do I mean by that exactly is that this is, you have to read it. It's very dark in regards to the techniques that attain somebody power. For example, law number 3, conceal your intentions. Law number 5, so much depends on reputation, guard it with your life. Law 14, pose as a friend, work as a spy. So stuff like this, it's very dark, okay? It is a fantastic book though, to really understand the concepts behind, more than anything, manipulation. So that's great in regards to mindset. It's great to learn from. It's great to see because outside looking in, I can tell when people are doing certain things and what that's supposed to trigger. Now, if we get into a little bit more technical, I know it should have been mindset and then technical, it would be The Way of the Wolf, okay? Now, these 2 books that I'm gonna mention are a little bit, or all 3 of these over here are newer now, but we're talking in regards to right now, which books I would pick up right now in order to learn a technical skill that makes me a lot of money. So The Way of the Wolf, The Straight Line Selling. So Master the Art of Persuasion, Influence, and Success. If you notice a pattern in what I'm gonna show you, it's a lot of influence and a lot of persuasion, if you will. That's why The Art of Persuasion by Robert Cialdini was another book that I was gonna go ahead and tell you, but I figured that not everybody wants to get really deep into that book. It's a big book, and The Straight Line Formula by Jordan Belfort is a great book. Then we have something that was just released from the Harmon brothers or Chris Jones. It's called From Poop to Gold. If you remember, and if you've watched my videos previously, you'll know that I talk about Squatapotty. It's exactly how they came up with the ads for Squatapotty and how it went viral, but not only Squatapotty, other products that they have as well. And it's really interesting on how they pieced everything together. They actually hired comedians to write ads because they wanted it to be entertaining. And this is a mentor of mine that I've paid, I'm talking like thousands of dollars an hour. to teach me how to craft perfect webinars, sales webinars. And he's responsible for, I don't even want to say what company he's responsible for, but he single-handedly in 4 years did $100+ million with webinars for a single company, and that's just one single company. He's one of the smartest, it's one to many, Jason Fladlin, but I will say that just so you know how these books work, like how these books work, books like, and I haven't read all the way through, so I don't want to say From Poop to Gold yet, but more so this one, and you know, like Jason Fladlin and Jeff Walker, Product Launch Formula. Those books are set up to give you so much information to make you love them, and then for you to go ahead and buy something else of theirs. So those are the books that I would recommend, and what I pretty much go ahead and would start off with if I had to restart. Let's talk about topic number 2. So the next thing that I would do is go ahead, if I had absolutely nothing, if I had no money in my bank, I would go get a job, okay? Now I know it's pretty much against the grain about what I like, and I don't like authority, so getting a job for me would be a little bit harder, but I would save up enough capital to go out there and start funding my ventures. At the end of the day, if I'm gonna go ahead and slave away for somebody else, I want whatever I make, I want it to be dumped into something that will allow me to attain my freedom back. And it just so happens with the knowledge that I'm acquiring, I'm gonna go ahead and be very, very smart. That's why I want 3 self-improvement, so I can understand that I don't want to become emotionally attached like I was previously if I had to restart. And the technical is where I would allocate my money. I'd keep learning and learning and learning. So I'd get a job or find a profitable hobby. Perhaps go to garage sales, get garage sales and then flip them on eBay, right? Get items from garage sales and flip them on eBay. So again, there's specific terms for that. I'm not gonna get too complex into it. I just wanna keep on rolling. Now, the next thing I would talk about, or the next thing I'm gonna talk about, I wanna let you know, is if I had to restart, I would learn to invest way better than I did now. So I've been extremely successful up until this point, and I realized, wow, I should have actually did something smarter with my money rather than partying and buying cars and buying jewelry. Like I realized, like, wow, okay, I made all this money, and I wish I did something smart, because I wouldn't really need to go out there and keep on working. Because at the end of the day, you know, what I realize is that we all work to become free. We don't work to make a lot of money to say, oh my goodness, how do I maintain making a lot of money? So if there's one thing that I can give any new entrepreneur who's watching this, if I can give anybody who's soon gonna come into a lot of money, because there's a lot of people that watch me that have blown up, that have made millions of dollars, and they started off from watching me. There's one thing that I can leave out for anybody is learn to invest and safeguard your money that you make, whether that's tax shelters or whether that's investment vehicles. Those are 2 things that I highly, highly suggest. And here's the thing about this, okay, is I am not, you know, I'm not a financial advisor, so I can't tell you what to do. But what I can tell you to do is learn as much as you possibly can. Consume so much when it comes down to investing properly, because at the end of the day, nothing lasts forever. And I want that to be something that you really, really get drilled into your head. I wish somebody told me that in the beginning, is that nothing good lasts forever. And I started looking, you know, through just examples in history of, you know, prevalent people and whatnot. I'm like, oh my goodness. Eventually, even one of my really close friends, and he's very public about this as well, he was he was making like money hand over fist. I'm talking millions and millions and millions. And then out of nowhere, everything just crashed, and he was $1.7 million in debt. And he had to climb out of that hole. And it's just interesting because when you're at that position, when you're making so much, you don't see the end. You don't see there could potentially be an end. You plan for the now, and then you plan maybe a month in advance. You don't plan what happens, you know, 5 years from now. Nobody does. And that's one thing that if I can go back and tell myself, my younger self, and we're gonna talk about that as well later, if I could tell my younger self something, it's number 1, learn investment strategies, investment vehicles. Don't become a day trader, okay? Because that's a job. And again, there's nothing wrong with that whatsoever. It's just, you know, learn something more passive. And number 2 is go out there and be smart with your money. Okay, so maybe tax shelters, whatever it is. So again, let me move on to the next topic. Now, another thing that I would suggest to anybody, or even if I had to restart, what I would do is focus on maintaining and building connections. There's people that I see right now in the marketplace that I'm particularly in, so I'm gonna speak on this on my behalf, that I see they've outpaced me, even though I've been in it way longer, because of the connections that they've built, because of how many people talk positively about them, because of how much they've been in the field, if you will. And my personality isn't so much like that. I like to be home working on things, or be in my office working on things alone. It's not that I don't like connecting with people, I really just like being in my own bubble, and I feel very awkward when people penetrate my bubble. And that's my personality trait. So when it comes down to it, if there's one thing that I'm even learning to do now and wish I learned so long ago, is just get out there. Right? Like, for example, I have some friends that are going to Traffic Conversion Summit, and they're like, hey, you should probably go to Traffic Conversion Summit, show face at Traffic Conversion Summit. To me, it's like, those sort of situations make me feel very claustrophobic. I don't really like, I like learning, and I like, you know, being in my closed group, but when, you know, other people try to come and penetrate my bubble, it makes me feel very uncomfortable. But that's also because I have a very introverted personality. So I just want to make that very clear, is that if I can go back, I would switch, I would go ahead and focus on building more connections and really expanding my network. So I hope you can see that as well as something very useful, and if you haven't done so yet, try that. Reach out to people on Instagram. Reach out to as many people as you possibly can right now, and just start building relationships. I know a lot of people, they go ahead and they try to build a relationship with me, and there's only like a few people that I've ever really let in that are newer to the scene. So it's not something that's easy for me to do. It's something that I have to learn and train myself to accept and do. And that's one of my struggles even now, but if I can go back, or if I had to restart right now, that's one thing I would really, really focus on. Speaking about focus, that's the next topic that we're gonna be talking about, is focus. This is by far the most important, period. All right, none of this will work unless you're focused. I'm gonna say it again, none of this will work unless you're focused. I was just in a group chat yesterday, or I'm still in a group chat, and with Onyx and Gall, Jimmy Kim, John Tallarico, and Fred Lamb. And I was voicing my opinion about something. I was a little, I was a little flustered about a certain situation. And, you know, Fred really hammered the point home. He's like, something that Onyx tells me all the time, and I'm gonna have to hammer it into your head, Dan, too, is focus. And he puts it in big capital letters. It's focus, focus, focus. He's like, and he's absolutely right. In 2018, one of my downfalls was that I tried everything. 2017, I made so much money that in 2018, I decided to try a little bit of everything, and I could never focus my attention 100% on one thing. So obviously nothing was gonna work, because if I didn't focus enough time and energy on that one particular thing and I kept hopping around, nothing would ever work. So here's the thing, if you notice something, if you notice that the most successful CEOs, the most successful entrepreneurs, they have their focus, okay? They have their focus point, and if they don't have they focus on one thing in particular, but if they have, like Elon Musk, if they have 2 companies, here's the thing about that. He can hire enough people to run SpaceX, okay, and focus solely on Tesla. And I'm pretty sure, again, don't quote me, I don't know exactly the inner workings, but from the looks of it, kind of looks like what he does. So you really, really, really need to learn how to focus on something. And that's something that I'm coming back to this year in 2019, is remaining focused. And the 2 things that I'm gonna go back to and remain focused on is going ahead and teaching people about drop shipping and e-commerce, and doing drop shipping and e-commerce, okay? So again, it's very broad for me to say that, but I want to go ahead and just let you know that those are my 2 focuses, rather than trying to start 4 different Amazon businesses, trying to create a teeth whitening business, trying to create a supplement business, trying to create a print-on-demand business, trying to create, like, no, I'm just going to focus on what I'm really, really good at and make a lot of money there. And that's exactly all it takes. And that's something else that I learned not just from them and not just from Fred, but that's something else that I learned from Sam Ovitz. And if I had to restart, I guarantee 100%, the one thing that I would do is be super focused, super laser focused. There's nothing that will derive me from what I am doing. I can guarantee you that. And if you start losing focus, it's number 1, because you're not passionate, or number 2, it's because you become complacent. So in my personal case is because I became complacent. I made a lot of money and I knew I was great at creating dropshipping stores and making millions of dollars with it. I knew I was great at going ahead and packaging up, like courses and softwares and making millions of dollars on it. And then it became something that I'm like, okay, I want something more challenging. And that's kind of like one of the things where people are gonna say, well, why would you stop if it's making you so much money? Because of the fact that I wanted to try different things. I wanted even more money. I knew I could make money off of those two things, right? But it's like a collective. If I can make it, rather than focusing on 2 things and maybe making 5 million net, I wanna have 10 things making 3 million, that's 30 million net. So that was my mindset last year, and then I realized I can't focus like that. That's not how my mind works. I need to focus, and actually that's not how anybody's mind works. Is if I had to restart today, and I had to restart from scratch, I would stay focused on one specific thing. And you're gonna see this happen a lot with definitely the social media kids that have a lot of clout. You're gonna notice how easily they lose focus on what got them to where they are. So people in these individuals that are making money hand over fist, they're gonna forget what got them to where they are, and they're gonna repivot back, but it might be a little too late. In my case, thank goodness, it wasn't late. Okay, I realized before everything, came crashing down, and I realized, oh my goodness, because I looked at it month by month for the last 3 years, and then like in 2018, I was like, what is going on? Like, why is the growth stunted, stopped, and then just depleting? And I really couldn't put my finger on it until I realized, and I started taking a step back, and I realized it was my focus. My focus wasn't on the stuff that was making me money that I'm exceptionally good at. It was on everything else that I was trying to learn, and I was only learning like 15, 20% of it. So focus is absolutely vital to your success. Super vital. And aside from focus, I do want to go ahead and tell you that once you have your focus and you start doing things, never ever lose momentum. Even right now, I'm starting a new project called Ecom Dudes Podcast. So if you search EDP clips, you'll find like the Ecom Dudes Podcast. Let me tell you something, there's probably like 9 views, okay, on the whole thing. Or if even on the Ecom Dudes channel, there's like 300 views on the video. That is garbage, all right? That is garbage stats for something that I would release. However, I know it's gonna be something I'm gonna need to build over time. And I'm gonna need to stay focused and consistent on doing it, and I can't lose the momentum once I have it. So once the podcast, because we do the podcast every Tuesdays and Thursdays, once we go ahead, and my co-host Anthony and I, once we go ahead and get something rolling, we're gonna keep on going with it, and I can't lose focus on it as well. Just like these videos, okay? I woke up today a little late on this, but I can't lose focus on creating this content and making sure that you guys get fed knowledge that is useful for you. So that's one thing that I would go ahead and do if I restarted, is never lose focus and maintain momentum. And the last thing is more so visual. So I would tell myself years ago, 5 years ago, to not care about things, but care about growth. And that's one thing that really hits home for me, and I think it hurts the most, is because I'm so growth oriented, but so blinded by things, right? It's like you want all these things you dreamed about, so you create a business to get those things, but then to grow that, you're literally in a position, I'm in a position where I want to grow it, but it's like I'm so blinded, it's like the next best thing. Like things wise. And if I can go back 5, 6 years ago and tell my younger self one thing, one pitfall to avoid, it would be things. Let me show you some things right now that I have that if I can go back and rethink it, I would. Let's dive into it. So here is Exhibit A. So this is an incredibly iced out Rolex. Completely useless for me to own. Don't need it, don't care. Yeah, that's one. Stuff like this, completely useless, right? Balenciagas, off-white. I mean, look how ruined they are right now. Look at that. I have a G-Wagon, and I'm paying, what? How much is this? $17,000 every 6 months. Last but not least, this is something I always dreamed of having, and then what happened was that I got it, and then I realized, okay, the novelty wore off. And yeah, so I paid cash for it, and I realized that it wasn't a dream of mine. And I have a G-Wagon also, but it's not here. somebody crashed into it and it's in the shop now. So yeah, that's a thing. Anyway, let me get back to what I was saying before. So that's everything I wanted to go ahead and cover with you. And if you like this video, go ahead and smash the like button, subscribe with notifications. If you haven't done so yet, make sure you're following me on Instagram as well, because I release some pretty cool information and products that I'm selling on there, and I think you're really gonna enjoy it. So Dan Fam Notification Squad, make sure you click the subscribe button, make sure you're following me on Instagram, because I will show products that I'm selling on my store, and then you can go ahead and use them as well. So without any further ado, hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you tomorrow.